You are watching the most unique and stressful silly season in Formula One history. The entire driver market, every single seat, every single negotiation is completely paralyzed. But why? It's not about the young superstars waiting for their shot. It's about two legends who refuse to move until they are ready. Two world champions whose individual decisions are currently holding the entire 20-car grid hostage. We are talking about Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel. The future of Formula One's grid, the biggest transfer frenzy we've seen in years, is entirely locked down until Alonso and Vettel finally decide what they are doing. Their moves, or lack thereof, are the only keys that unlock the chaos. And until those keys turn, everyone from the biggest teams to the deepest midfield is stuck waiting. The consequence of this paralysis is profound, halting millions of dollars in investment and paralyzing the careers of dozens of hopeful drivers. Now, before we dive deep into the specific moves and why Ferrari holds the master key to this situation, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. You cannot afford to miss the moment this market finally explodes. This is the state of play. The F1 driver market is a tightly wound spring, and the trigger mechanism is entirely centered around the decisions of two veteran champions. No major team, outside of the current constructors' leaders who seem to have their top seats locked down, can finalize their 2024 or 2025 lineup until the futures of Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel are settled. This is unprecedented market dominance held by two drivers in the twilight of their careers. Let's break down the sheer gravity of the situation, starting with the two veterans themselves. First, Fernando Alonso. Alonso has made it clear he is still driving at an elite level. His priority, as always, is a car that can fight for wins and championships. While he is currently at a team that values him highly, the open question of whether he commits long-term, looks for one last major switch, or critically decides to retire, creates a massive high-value opening. If Alonso chooses to commit to his current team, that locks one major seat off the market for another 2 or 3 years. It simplifies things, but it also frustrates those younger drivers waiting for that specific opening. But if Alonso decides this is the end of the road, or if he moves to an entirely new venture, the domino effect is instant. An elite-level seat, vacated by an elite-level driver, immediately becomes the most sought-after vacancy outside of the top 3 teams. That seat would trigger a bidding war among established midfield talents, freeing up seats at their current teams, thus generating second-tier vacancies, and on and on. Alonso's decision is the first lock on the door, but the second lock, and arguably the heavier one, rests entirely on Sebastian Vettel and the powerful influence of Ferrari. Vettel's situation is perhaps the most critical because it involves a top-tier seat at one of the sport's legendary teams. While his recent seasons have been challenging, a decision from a driver of Vettel's caliber about his future at Ferrari is the single greatest destabilizing factor currently in play. If Sebastian Vettel stays at Ferrari, it maintains the status quo. It frustrates every rising star hoping for a jump to Maranello. But if Vettel decides to leave, whether that means retiring or moving to another team, the entire market explodes instantly. A seat at Ferrari is the most coveted drive in the world. When that seat potentially opens up, every single high-performing driver currently contracted to a midfield team immediately becomes a target. Ferrari would hold all the cards, choosing from an exceptional pool of talent. Think about the consequences. If Ferrari decides to release Vettel, the next wave of contracted midfield talents, drivers who are currently delivering beyond expectations, would immediately be fielding calls for Maranello. If one of those drivers, say a high-promising young star, moves to Ferrari, that immediately creates a massive vacuum at their current team. That team, suddenly needing a quality replacement, starts poaching from smaller teams, or finally gives that long-awaited chance to a deserving junior driver. This is why Vettel's future is the nuclear trigger. It is the highest value domino, and every team knows it. They cannot commit their money, time, or strategy to securing a driver until they know if they have a realistic shot at a top-tier talent who might be displaced by a Ferrari shakeup. Now, let's talk about the third key player in this entire puzzle, Ferrari. Ferrari is not merely a bystander waiting for Vettel's decision. They are actively dictating the timeline. Ferrari holds the power to accelerate the chaos.
Their internal negotiations, their public stance, and their ultimate decision on whether to re-sign Vettel or look elsewhere is what prevents any real movement in the paddock. The pressure on Ferrari is immense. They are evaluating history versus immediate performance. Do they continue with a 4-time world champion who provides stability? Or do they risk disruption by bringing in new, potentially hungry talent to revitalize their structure? If Ferrari publicly commits to Vettel soon, the other major dominoes, Alonso's decision and the midfield shuffle, become the focus. If Ferrari waits, or worse, leaks hints that they are considering alternatives, the market stays completely paralyzed because every driver and every team is holding their breath, waiting for the massive opportunity that is the vacant red seat. The current gridlock is an absolute nightmare for team principals in the midfield. Imagine running a team that is trying to negotiate a long-term future with your star driver. That driver's agent is telling you, hold on, we need to wait and see what Alonso does. We definitely need to wait and see what Ferrari does with Vettel. Midfield teams cannot secure their lineup, finalize their development focus for the next 2 years, or allocate salary budgets effectively when their primary talent might be snatched away by the immediate fallout of a Ferrari decision. This uncertainty impacts everything from sponsorship deals to technical staffing. This is the cycle of paralysis. 1. Alonso and Vettel must decide their elite futures. 2. Ferrari must commit to Vettel or seek a replacement. 3. Midfield drivers cannot sign extensions or new contracts until they know if a top-tier Ferrari seat or an Alonso vacated seat is available. 4. Lower-tier teams cannot promote junior drivers until the midfield has finalized their poaching targets. In short, the entire chain is waiting for the two veterans to move their pieces. Until they do, F1 silly season remains completely silent. The moment one of those decisions hits the wires, Vettel signs an extension, Alonso announces retirement, or Ferrari publicly names a replacement, the entire market will move simultaneously in a dizzying cascade of news that could change half the grid within a 48-hour window. The control held by Alonso and Vettel is a testament to their enduring relevance and the value of a proven elite champion in a sport perpetually searching for stability and speed. But this market freeze cannot last forever. We are just waiting for the sound of the first domino hitting the floor. Keep your notifications on, because the moment one of these legends makes their move, the F1 driver market is going to explode. The speed at which everything moves once that first contract is signed will be staggering. Until then, we watch and we wait for Alonso, Vettel, and Ferrari to decide the future of the sport.